My name's Mitton. I'm a singer, speech pathologist, voice specialist, and today we're going to be talking about the coup de glotte. So, the coup de glotte is a very contested concept, most likely because it was misunderstood and translated poorly. Manuel Garcia introduced this concept in his treatise on the art of singing, which was published in 1881. The work has been translated into many different languages since. A little bit of history on Garcia. He actually invented the first laryngoscope, which lets us see the vocal folds. His was a little bit more rudimentary than the one we use in the clinic today, but he was able to use a mirror to be able to look inside the throat and shine a light on the mirror so that the light shone down into the throat, and then he could see the vocal cords opening and closing right past by just bringing that mirror back behind the tongue. After getting to see the vocal folds and seeing how our voices work, he wrote his treatise on the art of singing to describe what he saw and describe what he extrapolated from seeing the vocal folds move into how we sing. If you want to learn more about how the voice works, I'll post a link to another video in the description of this video. The English translation of coup de glotte, which is a French term, caused some issue in how this concept was perceived. Coup can be translated as cough, or it could be translated as attack, and de glotte means glottis, which is the space between the vocal cords, but coup de glotte was then translated as glottal attack, or alternatively glottal shock. If that was truly what Garcia meant, he wouldn't have had so many successful students. He probably would have been out of work pretty quickly, because if he was really talking about a cough kind of attack, the voices of his students would have been affected, because coughing is like slapping your vocal folds together at 250 miles an hour. That kind of force on the vocal folds can lead to at least some localized swelling on the vocal folds, which makes them not vibrate well. And at worst, it could actually lead to vocal fold pathologies. A really simplified version of the coup de glotte, or this concept that we're talking about today, is essentially to be able to make a vowel sound. A singer or a speaker has to approximate the vocal cords, and that air pressure buildup through them causes them to kind of blow apart and start the vibration of the vocal folds, and that causes a sound like or ooh, as opposed to starting with a vowel that kind of gets the vocal folds vibrating a little bit easier. But to be able to sing, many words start on what we call glottal attacks, meaning the vocal cords are coming together, and that's the initial articulation of the word. This concept of coup de glotte is pretty darn essential to get a clean onset when singing. It does require some coordination to get this right, though, and it isn't always easy. The goal is for not too breathy of a sound and not too harsh of a sound. Richard Miller, who wrote The Structure of Singing and the Art of Singing and several other books, he describes a way to get at this concept by allowing for too breathy of a sound and then too harsh of a sound, and then trying to find something in the middle. So for instance, kind of letting a little bit of too much air come through. So we're going to do this all on ah today. Ha. So that little bit of an H would be a very breathy sound. And then the really harsh sound, which you should only do for the purposes of testing this, and probably shouldn't use the sound too often otherwise, would be a really harsh ah, which really forces the vocal cords together, and then they have to blow apart kind of suddenly. Then you want to try to find something in the middle. Ah. So that is one way to address the coup de glotte. I've been doing some reading for another project I'm working on, and one of the things I read was an article in the Journal of Singing. In this article that I read, that I'm going to put in the description below. The author talks about Ian Howell's unpublished primer on voicing. So this exercise is one I've actually started using with a lot of my voice students. So Ian Howell's directions through the author of this article was to open your mouth and kind of hold your breath, almost like you're about to say something. So, and then let your vocal folds come apart just a little bit, so it's going to make the sound. And you hear that light click. During this, the abdominal muscles should feel engaged. So, once you've done that several times, maybe in a row, so, and you're comfortable with how that feels, you want to try to create that same sensation, but turn your voice on. So, and then finally, you want to try that with different vowels. So, ooh, ee, ah, oh, that kind of concept, just to get the coordination of that onset just where you want it. As you work towards finding that wonderfully balanced onset, you'll start to notice that your speaking voice and your singing voice are probably improving a bit with that. David Jones, who is a voice teacher in New York City, on his blog posted about how he's helped several people by just introducing this concept. I will post a link to his blog post about this in the description. My goal with this video and this blog post is really just to help you start to find a good coordinated effort in how to make your voice turn on, which is a big piece in your singing and speaking journey. And I hope that you found this helpful. If you have any questions, please feel free to put a comment in the video below, or send me an email at stacy@stacymenton.com. Thanks for checking in today. I look forward to seeing you next month.